the Tab Everest. They're off and racing. Think about it, Private Eye. I wish I win. Think about it in front from I wish I win. Think about it.
I wish I win on the outside, grabbing the lead, and I wish I win one from Bellinifatina.
Here she comes, Jolly Star, shot away. Ease down, Jolly Star. She is a star in the making.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Trek to the Everest. We are 46 days away from the $20 million race at Royal Randwick on October 19, and at the moment only 2 slots have officially been filled. We'll go through all the contenders tonight with Ray Thomas, Chantel Buckley and Chris Roots.
Can't wait, Greg. The countdown is on, and you said only 2 horses are in, but I think this weekend we'll see a couple go in. Every running of the Concorde since the Everest has been introduced has produced an Everest runner. The winner has come out of that race, except Remark last year, and the Moya invariably throws a horse or 2 into the Everest as well, so we'll start getting some slots taken up pretty soon.
And we've had a little bit of a feel, haven't we, in the last couple of weeks, Shani? There's been a few that have emerged or stamped themselves as possible contenders.
Yeah, some new kids on the block. So looking forward to seeing what these so-called new kids can do. Of course, there are the old hardheads, the old geldings, and of course a couple of old mares that we know that probably should get a spot. But these new kids, they're pretty talented.
It is coming up a big weekend, Chris.
It is a big weekend, and Moonee Valley Race Club and Charlotte Mills, their racing manager, did a great job putting the Moya further back, and the Manikato now leads into the Everest. So they've moved their program to adjust to the biggest race of the spring, and that's why we find a Moya at the beginning of September, which gives us a taste in both Sydney and Melbourne on the weekend.
Well, 2,000 metre contest, which we'll look at tonight. Let's have a look at the slot holders as they stand. Not much to report at this stage, with Trackside Media buying that slot off Inglis again and going with I Wish I Win. And Max Whitby, Cole Madden and Neil Werrett went on the front foot with Mick Price and Michael Kent Jr. to not only snap up Bustling for their slot, but also buy the horse outright. So we await everyone. Newgate were players last year. They picked Think About It, and they're back in the game this year. Ray, I think it's fair to say a lot of those slot holders have a firm opinion on who they'd like. Some are just waiting to see how they come back.
Yeah, absolutely. They're sort of aligned to certain horses, aren't they? And if they come back and race well, and a number of them are appearing this weekend, as I said, I think we'll see a couple of slots at least get locked in the next week or so.
Here's the market as it stands. The mover in the last fortnight has been Jolly Star, into second favourite outright, $5. I Wish I Win has been around that mark all the way through. Giga Kick will shorten if he wins the Concorde, so will Bella Nipotina. Now, Stormboy rocketed up the rankings. We'll have a look at him in a moment. Private Eye and Sunshine in Paris were next. Let's go back 2 weeks to Jolly Star, winning at Royal Randwick and producing a jaw-dropping performance.
Staggering, wasn't it? Yeah.
She looked every bit that Star, reeling them in and putting up a big margin.
And her sectionals were off the charts, Greg. She went 32.71 the last 600, but Chantel, J-Mac never really put her to the sword at all. He's just cruising home, so she's run considerably faster time than any other horse on the day for the last 600 and did it easily.
I think he sat up on her about 75 out, and I think she surprised him with just how well she let down and how well she's come back, because he was full of accolades for her. Sometimes he's quietly spoken, but you could tell that he had excitement in his voice in his post-race interview.
He took little Evie over the Cedar horse, the first horse he's ever taken a near, so that gives you some idea what he thinks of Jolly Star. If you watch that replay, I think he looks at the big screen 3 times while he's pulling up and thinking, well, this is just giving me something to think about. He's going to be a key player, James. Yeah. Because where he goes...
he won't ride her next start.
No, Kieran McEvoy rides the next start because he's going to ride Everest in Melbourne on that day. But where James goes might determine who's favourite for this race.
So she'll go to the Scirocco. Now, Stormboy, let's have a look at this performance again. He's returned in the San Domenico Stakes, and while we're watching this brilliant performance, let's go to the post-race comments of Adrian Bott, who started off by saying he's been on a Guineas Cox Plate campaign. That's what they've set him on. but because of this performance, sprinting over 1,100 metres and looking every inch a sprinter, he said it's not beyond the realms to drop him back after the Golden Rose to run in an Everest. Well, so when have we had a horse in the small history of the Everest that could be a Cox Plate contender or could be an Everest contender?
Well, I think that was the extraordinary part of last weekend, wasn't it? That both those races are literally on the radar now for him. The Golden Rose is the fork in the road for him. If he shows that similar sort of sustained speed, gee, the Everest must be a temptation for them, wouldn't it?
It would have to be, wouldn't it?
Yeah. If he gets his Group 1 in the Golden Rose,
then the Group 1's out of the way, and then fancy an Everest and a Cox Plate being in the same sentence.
Extraordinary, yeah.
The big thing with him is to get the Group 1, and that will probably dictate where he goes. If he's strong at the end of 14, it'd be very tempting to go to Melbourne and go down that path of the Guineas and the Cox Plate, given the other really good justifier in the world, King of Troy's gone through and just reigned them in England over longer distances. So if he's got sustained speed and stamina, you go that way. If you think he's just speed, he stays here.
Shortly after that win, about 20 minutes later in Melbourne, Growing Empire stepped out and won first up. Here's what Ron Dovesey had to say on Thoroughbred Weekly.
He could win an Everest, this horse. I think this was the win of the day, honestly. I think this is a superstar sprinter. From what he did at Adelaide that day to resuming here, arrogant, just sat 3 deep there, and he just puts them away. I know he's a well-bred colt and they want to win Group 1s. It's the same old story. And good luck to them, but he could win an Everest, this horse. He could. I suppose they're shying because that day, the run he had in Sydney, remember he ran over the outside fence there, and they're scared and that he mightn't be as good here. And look, I think he's sensational. I really do. He is a real special colt, this.
He firmed into $15 for the Everest. Now, straight after the race, Kieran Maher started talking about the Coolmore and going Poseidon and Dane Hill and going down the straight and concentrating on that.
He was so good though. Duff had it right. It was a sensational performance from a horse who's got electrifying speed. He's led at his 2 previous starts as a 2-year-old to win stakes races, and here he is, Chantel, sitting off speed, relaxing beautifully, and then just unleashing, and had the temerity to ease down 150 metres out. It was a stunning first up performance.
It was. I actually was at the Kenzo when he raced on debut there, and he was a lovely colt back then. So I'd love him to come to Sydney. Obviously they're thinking of staying in Melbourne, but hey, who knows what will happen. They might be able to sway them and they might be able to get him up here.
And the men in green have got plenty of ammunition for an Everest too. So we've got Komochi here, and there's a couple of other 3-year-olds that they've got on their list. So it might just come down to, if they think he's an absolute superstar, he has to come and prove it in the Everest.
Let's have a look at the market for the Concord on Saturday. Now, the movement has been quite dramatic for aft cabin. Giga Kick has remained unchanged at $2.50. In the all-in market, aft cabin went up $11 and is now into $5. Bella Nipotina went up $4.50, is now $5. Private Eye $4.50 out to $5. Remark $8 out to $9. I Am Me $11, $15 for Red Card, Dragonstone at $34, and much longer the rest. So Giga Kick excitingly back at the races on Saturday.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait to see him back, and that's a big move for Aft Cabin, $11 into 6s, and there's Bella Nipotina and Private Eye, who we know is very, very good, and last year's winner Remark.
It's an exciting race, it is.
OK, so there's been plenty of movement, but one thing stays the same. That's Giga Kick. He is a firm favourite for the Concord Stakes on Saturday. Clayton Douglas, his trainer, is joining us on Trek to the Everest. It must feel for you like an eternity since you've had him at the races. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it does. It's I've missed the Sydney weather, actually. It's been quite nice up here, but no, look, it's exciting to have him back, and hopefully he can do us proud on Saturday.
Well, just on Sydney, it's fair to say you and the horse feel at home here?
Yeah, no, it's been a good few weeks here. We've enjoyed our time, and especially Giga, he's done really well since he's arrived, and I've been really happy with how he is. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes first up off a long break.
Well, Clayton, you've had him in work for a long time. He had a jump out at Mornington before he came to Sydney. That first trial was on a pretty wet track, but his most recent trial, you must have been really happy with what Giga Kick showed that day.
Yeah, look, really happy. Obviously, he ran really well on a TJ on wet ground, but obviously I wish I was a little bit superior for him that day. So it was good to get him back on dry ground for his trial leading into Saturday, and it was pretty self-explanatory. He was strong through the line. He really seemed to attack it when he had a bunny to chase, and James got off and gave him a glowing report. So all is looking good for Saturday at this stage.
Was there ever a point where you didn't think you'd get him back to the races? And how have you approached this preparation? Are you wrapping him in cotton wool, or are you just treating him like any other gelding in the stable?
Yeah, good question. Obviously, it's been a stressful, probably 12 months, you could say. It was a fairly odd injury. It was there's not a lot of information about that injury that he's had, and the way it presented as really sore lameness behind, and I had a lot of sleepless nights thinking about it, that's for sure. But look, the last sort of 3 to 4 months, it's been fairly smooth sailing. We've been able to get some nice work into him, and especially over the last month, he's had a good grounding leading up to his first up run, and I've been able to get some really nice gallops, and he's come through them well. And this horse thrives off a bit of work, so he's forward and fit for his first up assignment, and I'm expecting him to be hard to beat.
Clayton, you've been here for a couple of weeks. You've got the whole old team back. Has your Uncle Rocket been leading you astray around the eastern suburbs, pubs and things like that yet?
No, but he's got down to the Coogee Bay a couple of times with Sarge, and I think they've had a couple of beers, and it's a bit like they were 18 months ago talking about horses. And it's good. It's good to be back, and I'm just really glad the horse is going really well at this point, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how we go on Saturday.
Do you learn much from those conversations with experienced blokes like that? Like they talk about horses a little bit differently, don't they?
They do, yeah, absolutely. But it's good. It's a really good community up here, and having been up here a little bit now, I've been able to sort of get some good friendships, and it's hopefully Giga can do the rest for over the next couple of months.
Just go back a few months. It seemed like you were well ahead of schedule with this horse. Did you just have to take your foot off for a month or so to not to have him back too early? Because I think there was a chance you could have been back by Monash or Missile Stakes time.
Yeah, we were. We sort of toyed with the idea, but we sort of had another think about it, and thought, let's just give him a breather. And more so, like you say, we just eased off him for a few weeks, and he was able to sort of regather himself. He was fairly forward and screwed down, and we just took our time. He probably could have, like you say, been going a couple of months earlier, but we've sort of felt that the more time we give this horse and the patience that we sort of taken with him, hopefully we can be rewarded. But he's a lovely horse. He's a lovely individual. He's great to work with, and at the moment it's all been going really smoothly, so I'm really happy with him.
It's so good to see him back on Saturday. Can't wait for it. But Clayton, it's almost 12 months to the day since he last raced at that Valley that day. Are you worried about ring rust for the horse?
Oh, look, I said this the other day to someone. I haven't really been training horses that long, and I've never really had to deal with a horse that's come off a 12-month break. So, when I was riding, people would say, oh, yeah, they might take a couple of runs to come to hand. But, this guy, he's a bit of a freak. He's had 3 trials leading into a first up run for the 1,000. He was probably bad luck in the challenge that he missed the start and blundered and probably got too far back once he missed the start. So, you could make excuses that this horse could probably be unbeaten. So, I've got a lot of faith in him. I think I think if he gets the right run in transit, he'll sort of do the rest. And there hasn't been many horses come from behind him. I think the only horse was I Wish I Win. So he's a well-credentialed horse, and I'm sure he'll put his best foot forward Saturday.
Just off Giga Kick, I believe you've got his half-brother up here. Can you tell us a little bit about him? Is he any good? Is he half as good as Giga Kick?
Well, he's actually a 3/4, so if he's 3/4 as good, I'll be wrapped. But no, look, he's obviously Jonathan Munn's bred him as well, and he's a 3-year-old. His name's Pantoja. He's had one start at Bendigo, and it's quite funny. I've sort of gone out. I went out, worked Pantoja the other morning after Giga Kick, and I think everyone thought I was working Giga Kick a second time because they're very much the same and they look very similar. Just the white legs are a little bit different, but he is a nice horse, and I've sort of brought him up for a bit of experience. I think you might see him in a nice race in the autumn, but he's still an immature type, but we'll give him a run or two up here and see how he goes anyway.
James McDonald, Clayton, book for this ride, not book beyond. Does James book himself, or do you say to him, I want you to ride this horse, and the horse will give him a reason on Saturday why I shouldn't get off him?
Yeah, look, I think that's probably exactly what you say. Is I'm sort of hopeful that the horse will do the talking, and look, Saturday's going to be an interesting day for us. We're going to see how he comes back off this long break, but I think everyone's sort of sitting on the fence, sort of waiting to see what he does. But I'm very confident the horse is in great order, and he's going to be very hard to beat. So he might have a little bit of thinking to do over the next few months as to what he's doing. And but I'm sure with even luck, he'll prove very hard to beat.
Do you think this might be the most nervous you've been any time you've taken him to the races?
Yeah, it will be. More so just hoping that everything goes well, he comes through it well. I think that's been the biggest thing this time round. Is he's a horse that doesn't owe me anything. He's done so much for my career, and he's given me so much enjoyment. And even going to the trials the other day, normally wouldn't get nervous at trials, but you sort of do, just hoping that everything goes right and he comes through it well. And that's the main thing with it. So look, as long as he pulls up well from it and comes through it well, I'll be very happy.
That piece of hedge down on the outside rail, is that where we'll see you on Saturday?
I'll be there. Don't worry about that.
Is that the lucky spot?
It's been a lucky little spot. So no, it's been quite funny. I've sort of got into that spot. It's a position where I like sort of standing on my own and taking it all in, and the nerves will have kicked in by then, that's for sure.
So that's the spot you watched the Everest and the All-Aged, and probably the other two he got beaten in.
Yeah, yeah, and every other one at Randwick. But he's it's nice and quiet there, and just gives me a couple of minutes before the race to just compose myself and sort of take it all in. But it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing him back at the races, and he's got nice improvement into his next few runs, and whatever he does Saturday, I'm sure he'll improve off.
All right, well, here's one more look at that day, that momentous day when the 3-year-old Giga Kick took out the Everest. Clayton, thanks for joining us. Good luck on Saturday. Can't wait to see you and the horse at Randwick for the Concord.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on.
It's an exciting day coming up for Clayton and everyone, really. And this man here, Joe Pride, who's going to send out Private Eye to take on Giga Kick, and hopefully we're not too far away from seeing another Everest champion think about it.
Joe Pride, immediate plans for Private Eye and Think About It?
Yeah, next week for Private Eye in the Concord, and Think About It is going to have a couple of trials in September and not go to the races until the Premier.
It's a challenge for you, I guess, but can we see the best of Think About It again?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I'm super confident of that. I think the horse has come back in terrific order. Can't wait to get him back to the races. I think both horses are going along really well. It's easy to say as a trainer, isn't it? But honestly, this is a great time of year for them. They're both coming up well. They're doing everything I could ask them to do at home, and I'm very excited by the prospect of bringing them back to the races.
People remember clearly about Think About It winning the Everest, but sometimes it's forgotten that Private Eye has run 2 placings.
Yeah, and he's a terrific horse, isn't he? And we'll see him on Saturday. And is it a bit of a gamble by Joe in relation to Think About It that he's waiting until the Premier? What worked with him last year and he's not on the radar, so to speak?
Well, I think that's the point, Ray. That's what worked last year. He can't really worry about chasing a spot and getting that horse out of a comfort zone.
Yeah, good point.
Whatever will be, will be. And if that means he gets picks out of the Premier or he doesn't get picked, how can you change it?
Exactly. Worked last year and he's still got a lot of confidence in that horse. And why wouldn't he have confidence in Private Eye, who invariably comes up every time in these big races?
He does. And Joe's been very bullish about the fact that he's not an autumn horse, he's a spring horse. And we went back through his form and we know he has won once in Queensland during the autumn, but he's said on numerous occasions he's a spring horse, he's a spring horse.
He's 12 starts, 4 wins and 3 placings in 2 in an Everest and 1 in a Giga kick or whatever they call the Winners' Stakes now.
The Russell Balding.
And the thing with him is his defeats have come when he's gone beyond 1,200 metres. So he's an out-and-out sprinter. That trial we just saw, he didn't have his blinkers on, which is like his suit of armour. So he'll improve on Saturday once again. And every year from the time he's been 3, 4, 5, 6, he's won his first start of the season.
Let's have a look at Bella Nipotina. What a remarkable Queensland campaign it was. She held her form right through winter, prior to winter. It's been an amazing 12 months. She's an iron lady.
She is, and this was a super try. It's her out wide in the orange sleeves, about to zoom into 3rd spot. We know she's absolutely outstanding, and if she runs well Saturday, surely she gets in the Everest, Chantel.
You'd have to think so. I think she's getting better with age. And I know that they did mention when she went to Queensland, she arrived up there, she was a little bit flat and they were a bit worried about her. And then I think she came out and won another 3 after that. But one thing on her side for Saturday is she's got that residual fitness on her side. She hasn't had long off. So that's going to help her on Saturday. She'd love probably a bit of give in the ground. She can get through on she's dynamic on a dry track, but even better on a wet track.
Well, we've seen that market. Half Cabin is very well backed in the all-in market, $11 into $5, and it may not have finished there. How's he going, Chris?
He's going really well. He's trialled. He's now gelding. Hopefully we get to see the real Half Cabin. If you remember the challenge last in the autumn, he got held up and probably should have won that. Just look at him here. He's just cruising through his gears. He's always been a really good sprinter, and this might be his time.
Yeah, well, Godolphin yet to make a decision and yet to even suggest a replacement for In Secret.
I was out there at track work last Tuesday and they mentioned these 2 horses, Half Cabin, who has been gelded, as Chris said, and is absolutely flying, and James has got a huge opinion, traffic warden, who trialled well the other day, and his Golden Super run was enormous. So they're probably the 2 at the forefront for Godolphin at the moment, but a lot of water to flow under the bridge. Greg.
Probably should be a Group 1 winner. He led in the size when Manal ran him down. So he's certainly an interesting 3-year-old in a big group of 3-year-olds that have chances in this race.
Let's take a break. Come back. Ben Dorries will be with us next. Okay, you're watching Trek to the Everest. Let's go to Queensland now. Ben Dorries from RaceNet is joining us with his thoughts on the Everest coming up and other matters pertaining to the weekend. Ben, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, guys. I'm in a flash news studio here. It's just tremendous at Ann Street in Brisbane. I was just telling you off air, I feel a bit like Brad Pitt, even though I don't look like it.
Looks the same as last season's. Anyway, let's talk about the Concord. Have you got anything to add? Because it's an exciting time seeing Giga kick back at the races.
Oh, it is. And look, the camps say one thing in public. I reckon, well, I know behind the scenes, they almost will not hear of Giga Kick getting beaten first up over 1,000 metres. You might say punters might be prepared to risk him a bit, but they were just so taken with this trial. And look, a bit of news I sort of revealed last week, incredible news really, that Craig Williams, who was effectively sacked, well, he was sacked from riding Giga Kick last year when everything went wrong, of course, in Melbourne, and then subsequently the horse was found to have an injury. He actually phoned Giga Kick's connections and put his hat in the ring to try and get back on this horse in spring. Obviously, it didn't come off. James McDonald has got first dibs on the ride, but he's got big crackers, Craig Williams, to do that, given, I guess, some of the controversy at the time. But it just goes to show you he's a very good judge and can see, like we can, how good this horse is going.
Well, we've just had Clayton Douglas on, and that'd be the last question I was going to bring up. I wouldn't even... you can't talk about the war.
Well, you know me, Rads, I don't mind stirring the pot a bit, but look, it'd be interesting to see what happens to Giga Kick's price. I mean, there's two camps. I suppose one that think he is just the real deal. He's been out injured for quite a while, but at his best, he's the best of the best, isn't he? And there's probably another crew that won't want to take that price and will think, you know what, we'll wait for him second up or third up. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens to that price as we get closer to that terrific race on Saturday.
Now, we're only a few days out from the Kosciuszko tickets closing on the 9th. By the time we get to the 10th, you won't be able to buy a ticket. So the 9th of September is the final date. Now, I spoke to Matt Dunn at the Grafton Carnival, and he floated this idea about buying a truckload of tickets, trying to get a slot for his stable. Now, that's been confirmed, Benny. He's going ahead with it.
Yeah, he certainly is, Rads. He's going to advertise this on his website, and anyone who wants in can get in. He's looking at spending up to $40,000, if you don't mind. That is a lot of tickets. I hope they're sort of bought digitally. He doesn't actually have to go into a TAB or a pub tab and physically put the money in. It'll take quite a while. But look, the idea is basically to give his horses the best possible shot of getting a start in the Kosciuszko. Here's Boom Talk, one of his sort of armada of horses, really, that he's hoping to get to a Cosy, winning nicely, ridden upside down, I've got to say, due to the pattern of racing on the day, but still won really nicely there, as you can see. So, look, Matt Dunn has crunched the numbers and reckons 40,000 is the magical mark. He hopes that should be able to get him, a couple of slots, hopefully, in the Kosciuszko. He said he doesn't know if a trainer has done this before, but it's certainly very popular in pubs and clubs and punting syndicates. He can't see why it won't work. So if you want to invest some money in a Cosy ticket, maybe Matt Dunn is your ticket to fame.
Well, that's what the William Farrer did, didn't they? David Barnhill.
Yeah, they buy a whole bunch of it and
ended up with...
Yeah, a couple in.
Yeah. Right, now, away from the Everest, another race that we see the resumption of a star is the Tramway.
Yeah, absolutely, Rads. And I saw that the boys in Sydney penned a story during the week with Annabelle Neesham saying, look, she is feeling the nerves ahead of this horse's debut for her stable, and you can imagine she would be. She's a very hyped horse, Amelia's Jewel. But look, putting my Queensland hat on for a second, there's a fascinating runner in this race as well. Tony Gollan, I've got to say, by his own admission, has had a poor record in recent years travelling horses interstate. But here's Freedom Rally in the yellow colours there. Hits a real flat spot in this run. Now, this is on Stradbroke Day. He got balloted out of the Stradbroke, missed a run in the Stradbroke, but J-Mac gets him home here. And look, he is hopefully on an Epsom path. Now, the key thing with this horse is, at his most recent trial, Tony Gollan added blinkers, which he really felt helped in terms of getting this horse to just move beyond that flat spot. I don't know as yet whether he will wear them first up, but certainly deeper in the campaign. And James McDonald has given some really big raps to this horse. Craig Williams, who we spoke about earlier, will ride Freedom Rally in the Tramway. I think about an $8 chance from memory.
Well, let's have a look at the Moya Stakes. Let's get the field up, because the barriers are already out. And this is, like the Concord, an extremely important race, because you've got a horse already in the Everest with I Wish I Win, but there's a list there that would love to get there. And this is a starting point. Have a look at that field with the 3-year-olds, Coleman on 52 kilos, and the 2 fillies, Lady of Camelot, a Golden Slipper winner, and Hayasugi, a Blue Diamond winner, carrying 50 kilos.
Crack race, isn't it? Yeah, and all 3 of those 3-year-olds certainly in the mix. Estriella there. Caballas drew 9. I spoke to Bjorn Baker earlier today, definitely going there. He has nominated for Randwick, but he's committed to the Moya, thinks he'll be ridden off speed, try and circle him late. And of course, I Wish I Win galloped well this morning, and he's back on Saturday in a big way.
Ben, let's have a look at the jump out for I Wish I Win. How's he going?
Yeah, good, Rads. Now, this is an entirely different preparation this year, isn't it? We remember him, I think, going through the Memsie last year, but the Moya is, I think I'm right in saying, 3 weeks earlier this year than it has been in previous years. So the Peter Moody and Catherine Coleman camp has completely altered the way he's going to get towards an Everest. So, look, all sort of seems to be tracking pretty well. Look, would he be in the money first up? Look, he has the class to be, I guess, but there might, given he's got some bigger fish to fry down the track, that you would imagine there would probably be some sharper sprinters potentially in the Moya. I think Estriella is the most fascinating watch you will see in, maybe not Australia, but certainly in Victoria this week. At her best, she is absolutely dynamic and electric. But we spoke to the camp, and they just feel when she went to Adelaide, she was a real fidgety thing, quite a nervous and anxious filly, but going on all recent reports, they've been able to iron that out of her. So if we see the real Estriella turn up from the wide gate cruising over, she will certainly give them something to catch.
Why, Chris, this is the hype on Estriella, this barrier trial at Cranbourne on August 26. That's her in front. The White Blaze there's bustling. We'll talk about that horse who's already got a slot for the Everest with Michael Kent Jr. shortly, but this is what impressed everyone.
Yeah, and I can tell you that they've already had slot offers with her, but they asked for too much of the prize money.
Right.
So they were very keen. They were offered a slot, and they asked for a massive deal, which the slot offer just said, well, if you want that, we'll go somewhere else.
Also there is Caballas. Let's hear from Bjorn Baker talking about Caballas and also what he plans to do with Overpass and Steffi Magnetica. He's in a unique situation where he'd love to get all 3 in.
Bjorn Baker, a few of your stars moving in different directions over the next few weeks. Caballas going to the Moya Stakes off 2 trials. How is the horse?
Yeah, he's in great order. He's a lovely colt, and his work's been very good. So he's going to go down on Sunday. We gallop at Moonee Valley Tuesday morning, and it's going to be a tough race, but I think he's up to it.
He's certainly been up to the rises before. Rose from benchmark 72 to win a Group 3 in the autumn.
Yeah, he did a great job. I only had him for the 3 runs, and I thought even his run was probably better than it looked his last run in the English sprint.
Overpass, first up on Everest Day, either in that race if you get a start or the Sydney Stakes?
Yeah, that's right. I think he's going really well. I think you can argue his form's probably been as consistent as any sprinter in the country, just about. He's been very good last season, so he'll be there. I'm thrilled with the way he's coming up.
And Steffi Magnetica, what's the path to the Golden Eagle?
Yeah, she'll probably kick off in the Premier, and then she'll go to Everest Day, possibly if she ran really well in the Premier, maybe she can force her way into the Everest, but there's a Silver Eagle that day, and then on to the Golden Eagle, all going well.
Right, so she's chasing that Golden Eagle. They can do both. Overpass, now, in previous years, they've really chased an Everest slot. This year, they're going to let people decide if he warrants a start without seeing him other than in trials.
And knowing that he's so good fresh. Both his Quokka wins have been first up, and that's the plan, to get him there on Everest Day, fresh, flying, either Sydney Stakes or hopefully the Everest.
Obviously, Chris, Caballas is going well. Yeah, he's setting for a Moya first up.
I think Ray wrote a story where Bjorn said he's the best horse I've ever trained. So it's a fair rap on a horse that's they bought as a tried horse, but he's been gelded. He's doing a really good job. Josh Parr goes down there to ride him. He'll be right in this race. And talking about Overpass, when I spoke to Bjorn, he just said, if I'm going to win an Everest, if he's going to win Everest, it's got to be first up. So he just said, the Sydney Stakes is a pretty good consolation, and it could still run in all the races in the series.
Let's go and hear from Adrian Bott with Lady of Camelot, who's going to that Moya, and also the latest on Espionage.
Lady of Camelot, she's going to race next Saturday in the Moya Stakes. She'll travel down to Melbourne this week. She's been topped off nicely with a recent trial, and I think she looks in really good order. Big picture would like to be working towards an Everest. She looks to be an Everest type, and she's one of the best, certainly sprinting fillies that we've got. But that's going to be her preparation.
And Espionage?
Espionage, we saw at the trials on Friday. Thought he came back in really good order. Had a nice hit out. Some really good improvement to come. We'll see him at the trials again before he steps out. He'll be heading towards the Heritage. That's the first kick-off point for him. Big picture, we'll be looking to finish up in the Coolmore. And depending what he does first up, if we can impress, he's certainly an Everest type of colt. Would certainly deserve his spot. If not, he'll go through a traditional path through the Roman Consul.
All right, well, let's talk about both of them. Lady of Camelot, Benny, is going to be in this right up to her ears in the Moya on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. With the lightweight, Zach Lloyd obviously going down there to ride. Her best is undoubtedly good enough. I guess, can she produce it? Her golden slipper stuff was just phenomenal. Here she is, just stretching the legs. So, look, again, a tricky betting race, the Moya. You can take a set against various horses. You can jump on other horses' backs. Lady of Camelot, though, I reckon if she's improved, she's definitely the real deal in my eyes.
And on Espionage, he'll go to that Heritage and maybe force his way into the Everest. Now, James Harron, who's won 2 Everests, he'd like to win it in his colours, wouldn't he? Because he hasn't been able to pick one of his own before, and Espionage is that horse.
It's been his ambition right from the start, and here he has got a really talented colt. This trial last week, Greg, he was way above himself in condition. They weren't expecting a lot from him. The fact he's trialled so well just underlines their opinion. This is a legitimate Everest horse through the Heritage, so won't see him for a couple more weeks, but he is going really well, Espionage.
And finally, Ben, it could be we see, and at the start of the discussions with the Everest every year, 3-year-olds became a really serious discussion point when Yes was the first one to do it. But here we have so many 3-year-olds possibly heading towards the $20 million race. 2 that we haven't spoken about are Hayasugi and Coleman, who were supreme 2-year-olds. Let's see how they go as 3-year-olds when they resume on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I know the Clinton McDonald camp holds Hayasugi in the absolute highest order, and I suspect, it'd be fascinating to see how Coleman comes back as well. Here they are in the same heat, Hayasugi running 3rd and Coleman 5th. Hayasugi, I'm particularly looking forward, I guess, to her coming back. I reckon she only scratched, the tip of the iceberg with what she can do. Look, I'll just leave you with one thought, guys, before I head off from this magnificent studio. This show is called Trek to the Everest. I reckon there's a growing chance in the coming months or years it is going to be called Trek to the Group 1 Everest. There is enhanced cooperation between New South Wales and Victoria, and I would not at all be surprised if in the future, maybe sooner rather than later even, that we see the Everest become a Group 1, which no doubt it deserves.
Well, let's hope we're still doing the show when that comes around.
You reckon it's going to take a while, do you?
Well, who knows? It could take 1 year, it could take 12.
I think you'll find it'll be done by next year.
By next year, all right. Well, let's hope we're here. Benny, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to come back. Michael Kent Jr. is going to join us on Trek to the Everest.
If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain, if you're not into yoga
colours, Northerly's colours for Oakland Park over there with Nevin Sue Duncan. But new colours will be worn by that horse Bustling when we see him in the Everest. Michael Kent Jr. is joining us on the show, I believe in Stars Row, down there at the stables. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, team. Yeah, hopefully there's a few stars in here. Yeah, exciting time of year again on the road to the Everest. We can't wait.
Can you just take us back as to how this evolved? Who saw what in this horse? Who approached who first and how you got the deal done?
Yeah, good question. He's a horse who came across our desk. A form man I know well mentioned there's a pretty hot horse over there. I'd seen him run before, and so I tuned in to watch the Karrakatta Plate, as I'm sure most did. He was very impressive. He ran sensational time. And look, there's probably not a day that goes past that I'm not trying to recruit a horse from somewhere in the world. Mick and I are always looking in New Zealand or Europe or at a sale in Australia. And 99 times out of 100, you do all the hard work and either they're not for sale, it's too hard, they don't get through the vet. But the owners, and Dan Morton was a part of the ownership group, they were very good to deal with. They named their price, and we went about, given that the Everest was on the radar, I thought to myself, well, why not find a client that has a slot? So they're running for the entire pot rather than splitting it. And obviously the Werrett Whitby group were keen to take a share in the horse, and then I went around getting the rest of the horse done with some stable clients. So I commend them greatly. It's a big risk, but as they say, you've got to be in it to win it.
Right. Well, that's an important piece of the puzzle, isn't it? Convincing a slot owner or trying to show off. It's the first step, isn't it? Trying to get in. This was done seamlessly.
Yeah, I think he sold himself, Greg. He's awfully exciting, but we had a lot of data to back that up. Anyone can see what a beautiful action he has, but he's got sensational speed, and with the Everest, you need a horse that can handle high pressure. They go very fast for 20 million, and he's a horse who can run sensational early splits. He's only just turned 3. So he's got a big job ahead of him. He's already had 5 hard runs on firm tracks. He's just a very, very cool horse. I don't think he's just a 2-year-old. He's got a lot of leg beneath him, a lot of scope. He's still bum high. And the luxury of our position is that we've already got a slot, so we can just time our run and hopefully pick him on the big day.
Yeah, Michael, you mentioned Bustling's speed, and we saw that the day he won the Karrakatta Plate. He won by over 4 lengths, easing down. He went 1:09.06, which was only a tick outside what Overpass ran to win the Quokka on the same day. But as good as that win was, the one that really convinced me was the size. 1,400 metres, he won that easily and showed without doubt he's not just a speedy squib. There's a lot of substance to this horse.
Yeah, plenty of scope and strength, Ray. Some of his races, he was able to go 10-3, 10-4 early. And then what most 2-year-olds can't do, able to come back, relax, take a breath, and then find again. A lot of young horses trying to go that speed, try and run through the bridle, and you can't get them back and they don't finish off. This horse can, so he's a bit unusual in that aspect. So look, he's a very nice 2-year-old, I think in a very good crop. And as you said, we were trying to get the deal done prior to the sires, which is always a bit of a tricky situation, how you want them to run. Anyway, he went and won nicely, and we bought him after that. But I think you're right. Ticking that box at 7 furlongs is good for the future, but certainly for the short term, we'll just be keeping him short and sharp. He won't go past 6 furlongs this preparation, I would have thought. Lovely horse for the future. The Everest is the race we want to win this preparation, but as a general picture, I think we bought a very nice, promising sprinter that there's so many races now in Australia. Even the winner's stakes after the Everest is a big carrot, isn't it?
We see him trial on Thursday. Have you been doing much work with him, Sydney way of going, and then what will be his plan going forward?
Yeah, definitely. He had 3 grass gallops Sydney Way here at Cranbourne. He had 1 trial here. He went 3rd behind Estriella. She was having a second trial, so there's more intent there. We had a nice soft trial. He then travelled up to our Rose Hill base, and he's trialling Thursday. He then kicks off in the Run to the Rose. That's going to be one hell of a race, guys. Just talking to jockey managers, it's going to be smoking. So good test for us there. But as I mentioned before, for us, we're already in the big one. Just want to sort of build. So I think we'll go Run to the Rose, Heritage Stakes, and then into the Everest, and then after that, not sure. But he's a young horse, He's still he's just turned 3, so just want to look after him, pick him on the big day. He's got his whole career ahead of him. So looking forward to him. But he's worked into our Rosehill base very well so far.
Have you got a jockey yet, Michael? I know Blake rode him over at Perth. Blake Shin, that is.
Yeah, well, he got 53 in the Everest. That narrows your pool a little bit. Chad Schofield's been doing a lot of work for us and riding brilliantly, Golden Path and the like up there. So he is booked for the Run to the Rose. He can ride 53. We haven't locked anyone in for the whole preparation, but he will ride him first up in the Run to the Rose.
What a race.
It's going to be
what a race.
Boom or bust time.
I mean, Stormboy makes a statement on Saturday. He's going there. I think the very best 3-year-olds will turn up, and then after you get through you'll race against Espionage and Heritage.
Yeah. Yes, I think linebacker, Switzerland, Stormboy. So there's nowhere to hide, and it's a step up. So he's a nice horse. He's got to take the next step as they all do. But as I said, I think the country's crying out for the next wave of young guards to come through, and then you've got Giga Kick. He's come back. It looks like Jolie Star burst onto the scene. It's a good race. So we're looking forward to it.
You're right. That is the feeling about the new wave of young horses, and there seems to be more than ever this year. Just on benchmarks, Dan Morton has a benchmark in Scenic Blast. He knows what a great sprinter is. What has he told you about this horse in your discussions with his former trainer?
I don't know if he directly compared him to Scenic Blast, but clearly he's a nice horse. Blake Shin gave us a very good read as well. Blake rides so many of the top horses around the country, and he loved him. He loved how professional he was. As I said, he can go so fast, but he's doing it on the bridle. He's actually relaxed. It's a real rare trait for a young horse to go so fast within themselves, and then to be able to kick off that again. So they're the traits we liked about him. He's, on our data and a lot of form lines, one of the best 2-year-olds in the country, but we just don't know who will take the next step up, and we hope our horse does. As I said, I commend the owners for taking the risk. That's what our game is. It's a game of opinions and punts, and I think it's a good one. I think it's a very nice horse, and we're lucky to have him in the stable.
Yeah, Michael, Greg mentioned benchmarks, and of course the stable had a 3-year-old in the Everest just 2 years ago, Jacquino. He went through the Golden Rose and won that so well. He was unlucky in the Everest that year behind Giga Kick running 5th. Bustling's a different sort of horse because he's got that tactical speed and can make his own luck. Can you compare at all Jacquino through to Bustling?
Yeah, you're right. So Jacquino was more of a 1,400 metre horse. He won the Golden Rose and we came back into the Everest. That probably opened our eyes as to what you can do with a 3-year-old in that race. They've got a great record, haven't they? Giga Kick, yes. They get lightweight. They get they get 53 kilos for being a male in the race. Bustling is a different horse totally. He's got that electric speed about him. He can race on speed, absorb pressure, and then find again. But it's going to be a whole different kind of pain than he's felt before. I think that definitely that experience gave us the confidence that you can have the right 3-year-old and run it in the Everest and be competitive. Jacquino's only beaten less than a length and ran 5th and just got held up a touch at the wrong moment. I'm not saying he would have beaten Giga kick by any means, but he ran super, and I think Bustling is more of an explosive 6 furlong horse than Jacquino was.
Well, it's exciting. It's exciting for your stable because you're part-time Sydney siders now. You've got that stable, which you didn't have probably back in the Jacquino day.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a base of 6 there at Rose Hill. It's working beautifully. I think we've earned nearly 1.7 million in sort of 4 or 5 months. It's been fantastic. We love Sydney. You know, Thunderstruck won a Golden Eagle, Jacquino Golden Rose. We're keen to be permanent Sydney siders up there, and you know, and Everest would look good too.
Great. Look forward to seeing you up here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
The Price Kent Yard have an Everest runner already picked in Bustling. We'll take a break. More Kosciuszko news and some King Charles news after this. Okay, let's have a look at the Kosciuszko market as it stands. Front page looking to win 3 Kosciuszkos and is the $4 favourite. And we'll get an update on him with Matty Dale in a moment. Clear Thinking is a bit of a wild card. And then you've got the horse who's come back from near death far too easy. Opal Ridge, who needs to find...
Did they find any excuses?
No, haven't at the moment. But that's how good she is. She's still 4th favourite.
Yeah, second last year, terrific. Clear Thinking, likely to go first up. She's an unbeaten mare, likely to go first up into the Kosciuszko, but she'll pick up a slot for sure.
Well, what are we? The 3rd of September, 6 days to go for ticket sales, and that'll be it. $5. The pool's going to jump by 40,000, we believe, in the next few days as Matty Dunn gets his syndicate together and buys the tickets to try and assure himself of a ticket or 2. Because if you buy 40, you might get 3. Who knows how they come out of that machine. And then on the 11th, live here on Sky Thoroughbred Central, the ticket draw. And that's when all the ticket holders will be notified and they'll start ringing around the stables to try and lock in a runner for the Kosciuszko. You become the slot holder if your ticket comes out. Now, front page, the defending champion, trying to make it 3 in a row. Here's the update with Matty Dale.
He's really well. He's following a copybook of last year. He'll be there first up, as he has done the last 2 years when he's won, and he's right on track, so very happy with him.
And you've got a new jockey in James McDonald because Tyler Schiller not available on that day?
Obviously, Tyler's rode him the last 2 years, and we would have loved to have Tyler aboard, but we recognise the opportunity for Tyler to be on the favourite in the Caulfield Cup is a big one, and Tyler's decided to ride at Caulfield on the day. So just as of last night, we've booked James McDonald for front page, and obviously we're wrapped with that.
Even J-Mac wouldn't have hesitated for that, would he?
No, he always calls you back, so his manager says, I've got to run it by J-Mac, so no, he does his due diligence, but yeah, they called back and we're more than happy to take the ride.
So Schiller off, McDonald on. Here's the King Charles market to finish the show, and it was strange old weekend for the King Charles because Pride of Jenny, even though she's second favourite and can easily bounce back, it was a disappointing return.
But never put a line through a good horse after one run, Greg. So it gets out to 1,600 metres next start, and we'll see just where she's at for the spring.
So the Kosciuszko in the King Charles on Everest Day, October 19, and that is our first show. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back next Tuesday night to bring you another episode of Trek to the Everest.
I wish I win on the outside, grabbing the lead, and I wish I win one from Bellanefertina.
Here she comes, Jolly Star, shot away, ease down Jolly Star. She is a star in the making.